Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's a definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experience is my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Please, thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes. It's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
No?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 113 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is retired CX CSM John Wayne Troxel, and he's going to be talking about his new book, Surrender or Die. And as usual, I'm joined by Nick and Buddy. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Yo, cheers. Yeah, so.
Only 2 shots in my cup this time. I heard.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
it's not a female guest on, so you'll let him talk. You're sexist. Yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully Megan's not watching.
She's not watching.
You're going to ruin my day today.
I mean, you ruined your own day last week.
No, I watched the episode and it wasn't that bad.
Not only did you not let a female veteran talk, then you also pissed off the female in your life by not being able to go out to dinner with her because you were too drunk. So, like,
we all had our first, right? Like Buddy said earlier. I think that was the first time I got completely.
Everybody's got to have one. You know?
You're right.
That was yours.
That was mine.
I do expect that you're going to buy the book, How to Kill Your Business, and
100%.
How not?
I
to
did.
Kill your
It already
business.
got it.
Did you get it already? Okay. Now
Yeah.
I feel even worse because I haven't ordered it yet.
Yeah,
I ordered it during the show. while
Did
you were
you?
talking.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's a super smart lady. So it's a
Yeah.
good lady to build some businesses around with her advice.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised with all of the like super liberal. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be. I'm gonna say something. She's gonna get mad.
Well, when you got a
I don't know.
PhD, when you're a teacher, like yeah, chances are you get a little bit left. So, but no, she's really intelligent.
Yeah.
So she's
Anyhow.
awesome.
Solid. Anyhow, as usual, we're going to kickstart this dumpster fire with another conspiracy. I actually looked this one up last night. Okay. It's kind of running out of conspiracies, but I did do a little bit of research. There's obviously a lot more to this. So this is just a quick synopsis on what occurred. So I don't know.
Can you spell synopsis?
Nein, kann ich leider nicht. I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I speak three
Just,
languages.
yeah.
I would never use that word because I can't spell it either.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just saying.
So anyhow, we've spoken about Skinwalker Ranch out, I think, in Utah, a couple episodes ago. And today we're going to talk about Stardust Ranch. Okay. This is actually out here in Buckeye, Arizona, about an hour from here. And the story goes, this guy named John Edmonds, okay, he was a psychiatric therapist, and his wife, Joyce, supposedly she worked for the FBI, bought this ranch, this 10-acre ranch, back in 1996 in Buckeye, Arizona, okay? Before they bought the ranch, it had a history of all kinds of weird stuff to include suicide, FBI raids, just a bunch of crap that was already going on at that ranch before they even bought it. So once they bought the ranch, they had multiple alien UFO, UAP encounters, strange lights in the skies, witnessed by the neighbors as well, ghostly encounters, missing items in the house, lights flickering, dogs killed, cattle mutilations, like you name it. Like this place had like literally everything, okay? Apparently, this guy also fought gray aliens on his ranch. And
Hell yeah.
And killed 19 of them with a machete. Okay.
Dang!
19 gray aliens. Okay.
He had an equally to kill 20.
He does this radio interview and then he does a NBC or whatever, does an interview with them. And he talks about killing these gray aliens with a machete because they were always trying to come to the house and like abduct his wife. Okay. Crazy shit. So after killing these aliens, apparently he had a little bit of flesh that was left on the machete. Okay. And he sent it to a lab in Michigan. Okay. And a biophysicist checked it out. All right. Told him, hey, this shit is not found on planet Earth. Okay. We don't know what this is. This material that you found there, this stuff, this flesh is found like when they find like cattle mutilations and they do tests. That's where this stuff comes up. Okay. Turns out this biology guy, whatever, dies 3 weeks later. Okay. Of course, he's dead, just gone after making suicided. So that is a little weird, set the alien flesh. It was called hemoglobin. I don't know how to spell that either. And then John started posting about all this stuff.
Hold on.
Yeah.
It was called hemoglobin. Like,
yeah,
that's the actual word.
It's like some
that
protein.
everybody has.
No, but it's like but it's like some protein stuff. But it like the counts in it or whatever were completely different, not found on planet Earth. Okay, buddy, give me a break. I read this online. All right.
I thought you were saying that it had hemoglobin, and that made it.
So
different.
it's the midichlorians. It's midichlorians. It's a Jedi.
Anyway, there's a book about the ranch. Okay, supposedly Men in Black government came by, told him to shut up about it after going on the radio. Ghost Adventures came by. I think those are the same people that did Skinwalker Ranch. They found some weird shit that was going on there with their readers, like ghosts and all kinds of crazy stuff. Long story short, he's dead now as well. Okay. I don't know much about the wife. All right. She still lives at the ranch apparently. And yeah, that's about it. Okay. Obviously there's a lot more to it. I personally think that just since everything occurred there, like every phenomena that you can think of,
well, yeah,
probably just trying to make a lot of money, Now, UFO, UAPs, there are a lot of sightings in Arizona, especially Buckeye. That is a hot spot. There is a military base that's around there. So maybe they were seeing some UFOs, UAPs. Maybe the house was haunted. Okay, I do believe in ghosts. Neighbors saw some lights in the sky. Cool. Definitely didn't get attacked by alien grays. That's a little too much, in my opinion.
I would fuck an alien up.
The guy that died,
Hold
though,
on.
like in Michigan, like I need, buddy. It's gonna be your turn in a sec.
No, I got a
I'll
question.
answer your questions.
How big
Go
are
ahead.
the gray ones? How big are the gray ones supposed to be?
I didn't
Well,
write
all
that
they
down,
had,
but they're
all they
short.
had
They're
was a
short.
piece of flesh.
They're short.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
they
they're
don't
little
know.
bitty. They're-
Yeah.
Like
They're
that's
the
how
small
I
grays.
feel like. I feel like that would be the only possible way. Like it would be cool. Like everybody's got that question. Like how many 5-year-olds could you beat the shit out of?
Right.
Kind of messed up to beat up 5-year-olds, but alien
If they were
gray
aliens,
all
they
day,
Yeah.
day long. I'm
Yeah.
jacking up grays like
So I don't-
all day.
So there's pictures actually that Chris put up. So one of them shows his arm where he was attacked by an alien gray, and then when you guys see the picture with the machete and the blood, that's actually the spot where he killed it. Apparently, they have red blood too, the alien grays. Okay, so
You must have been hanging out.
I don't know. I feel like if this actually did happen, and I do believe in aliens and stuff, this guy started a galactic war. Like he's killing alien grays. So I don't know. Again, maybe the house was haunted. Maybe there was some involvement, some weird stuff going on there, but that's about it. He did not kill aliens. Okay, he did not get abducted. He's trying to make a lot of money.
John's like, what the fuck do I have to answer here?
He saw Skinwalker Ranch and was like, this is good shit. And then he watched some ghosts, encounters.
Your E3 days.
And then he just compiled everything together, wrote a book, and tried to make money. All right. So haunted, yes, maybe. UFO sightings, yes, maybe. Everything else, complete garbage.
Sounds like the Walmart.
You're saying
conspiracy
straight
theory.
bullshit. All right. Yeah. Okay.
CSM, you are up.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, well, in my
You
experience,
got to revert back to your
he
E3
killed
days.
2 gray aliens with an E-tool,
So, I don't believe half of what I hear and none of what I see, So I just there are some people that have some challenges going on. They might be drinking the bong water and stuff, and and they can embellish and things like this, and then hey. I'm not calling a guy a liar, but I'm not buying it. I mean, again, there might be something going on in the house or something, but I don't know. He's a pretty badass dude if he's killing 19 aliens, with a machete, and there's no other witnesses. I mean,
Yeah.
So-
No pictures of them either.
I don't
Apparently,
know. How
they
bad are
disappear.
you?
When you kill them, they disappear. I forgot to add that. That's why he doesn't have pictures of the bodies. So as soon as you kill them, and then boom, they're gone. They
It's
just
like Blade.
disintegrate.
That's like Blade
So this-
vampires.
Yep.
So this kind of sounds like the E4 Mafia after they got drunk and tore the barracks up on the weekend, and now they're trying to blame it on killing aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
When they're
about right.
the first sergeant,
Yes.
and first sergeant, I swear these aliens came in and we saved the barracks by chopping them up with these fucking machetes, man. And be glad we were there. Otherwise, they would have tore everything up to
Yeah,
include
it turns
the
out they
labor.
hate fire extinguishers, so we had to fire all those off too.
Oh,
Okay.
and that stripper that was in that one room, the aliens.
They brought her.
And we
Yeah,
did.
They brought her.
They abducted
They brought her.
That's,
They
that's how
abducted her and
that's how
brought
they
her here.
lured us all to the
They were
same
trying to
room.
trap us. Yeah. They got most of the E5s, but we came back.
All right. The chat hasn't said anything to this yet. I just see a
'cause
meme
it's
from
insane.
Christopher Kerber. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, CSM. So nothing, maybe haunting a little bit. Who knows? Maybe some lights in the sky. Okay, fair enough. Buddy, what's your take?
Okay, first of all,
Where do
I don't have any problem with them being able to beat the shit out of 19 little gray aliens.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I could take, unless they were taking like jujitsu or something, I feel like I could take 19 aliens. Like, I would like the odds on that one. You know what I mean? But here's my problem. We're talking about 19 aliens that their culture, society, whatever, has figured out how to travel from planets light years away.
Mm-hmm.
And they get here
Get slaughtered by a guy with a
and
machete.
get fucked up by a redneck with a machete.
In Buckeye,
That's
Arizona.
the reason. That's the reason that
Yeah.
there is no intergalactic war, is because they never, like, the one that lived went back to his ship and was like, I'm not telling anybody that fucking happened. Like, we got beat up by a fucking drunk redneck with a machete. Bill from fucking Quadrant just got fucking hit with a beer can and he's out. No,
Yeah.
I'm not telling a soul. Like, nah, I don't really think it's a thing. I think that they would have come up with some kind of like stun gun for this
Yeah.
dude, and
Yeah.
then like he's just like sitting there frozen. and they're probing him with stuff because they love a probe.
Oh yeah, so
Well,
that all
perverts.
did happen
They're
as well.
perverts from what I've seen.
Yeah, that did happen as well.
I've heard. I haven't seen it. I haven't
Well,
seen
maybe
it,
maybe
but I've heard
the
they're
wife
perverts.
maybe the wife has why the wife is still alive. Maybe the wife has had him convinced that the probing was from aliens.
Yes.
Maybe.
So that is
Ooh.
actually
And he's just
in there as well. And then they, one thing I did forget, there was a
Well, let's-
Scientology
you just
person that
get
came
past-
by.
You
Real
yada
quick, buddy.
yada probing.
Buddy, real
You
quick.
get yada yada probing.
There was a Scientology person that came by. All right. I read this too. And she was able to speak to the animals, apparently.
Absolutely.
And they told her that the alien greys just come to kill the animals, but they have a contract with a higher being that they're not allowed to kill the humans. So maybe that's why the greys didn't actually try to kill them. That's maybe why they didn't fight back. Just saying, what I read.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
They probably get paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Maybe.
And
All right, so buddy,
Oh.
nothing happened, no ghosts, nothing. Maybe
I have a hard time believing that like hand to hand. Yeah, I think we got them. I think we can get them. You know what I mean? We're just bigger. We're used to gravity. Like I feel like home turf advantage. We got them. But I also feel like they probably have something like, I mean, we've only been messing with guns for the last like 500 years, and we got machine guns. They've got light years worth of technology, and they couldn't even get a revolver. Nothing. They haven't figured it. They haven't figured powder out. Nah.
Well, maybe that's
just
not.
land
Maybe
their
it's not
ship on 'em.
Maybe it's not sustainable on their planet, buddy. Why don't you be more, empathetic
Okay.
towards aliens? All right, maybe they don't have.
It's
those
Arizona.
resources.
It's Arizona.
Yeah.
They could have found any meth head and bought like a Glock and been like, okay, now we're even. Now we got this. We're going back. We're going back to the ranch.
We do have a lot of guns here. Yeah.
Yeah, and meth heads. So
Yeah.
like I said, both. I feel like it's not a thing. I think the aliens could have outthought that situation. They did not get jacked up. Maybe
ghosts?
4 or 5 get jacked up. I don't know. I feel like that's like it. Again, it's like the Walmart of conspiracies.
Yeah.
Like you got ghosts, you got aliens, you got animals, like you got everything all in one. I'm surprised a Yeti didn't like come up and try to save.
There is
aliens.
actually something about a Yeti, but I didn't bring it up. It's literally got it all. That's why I don't believe it.
Too much.
Well, actually, all the Yetis are in John's territory up there in the Northwest.
Yeah,
so
it's too
I
much.
like that.
I gotta go with Sergeant Major Troxel on this one. That like they were
He's trying to make some money.
Basically, they're basically just sitting there. It's like, no, babe. Seriously, this is why I came home late last night, right? Okay, so I was
getting
driving
probed.
home. I was at church. I was driving home from church. An alien stopped in the road. I said, "You gotta get out of my way because my wife wants me home." And they were like, "Nope, you gotta go with us." And so I pulled out my machete and I was like, "I'm loyal and I will not let you probe me anymore. I'm gonna get you." And then he got like a few of them, and then a Yeti came up and helped me with the other like 15, and then I slapped hands with the Yeti and I took a picture, but he was real blurry because he just does something. He's got an aura that messes up your camera. And then I jumped in my truck. I drove home, babe, and I almost didn't make it because there was a cow with like its insides cut out. I had to go around it. It was a whole thing. It was a stripper. She was abducted. She tried to pull me out to the desert, and I was like, no, Bertha would be pissed. I'm out.
Yeah.
So I want to real quick, Bobby in the chat says, "Yeah, I'm just checking in. What the fuck is going on?" Bobby, welcome. Welcome to the dumpster
Dog
fire.
37 retired.
Yep.
All right,
Welcome
so
to the dumpster fire.
I've never seen a call sign retired before. So, what does Dog 37 mean? Let us know. Put it in the chat. We'll give your unit a shout.
Is that like a canine handler from?
Yeah, it might be. Might be. But that's every Ranger regiment canine handler sucks. Okay, so it's like I'm gonna put that out there, Christian. All right, so
I'm gonna guess D Company 3rd platoon sergeant.
Yeah, somewhere.
Okay.
We just want to know where. We want to know what unit. We'll give it a shout.
Let us know, Bobby.
But hey,
Maybe a Marine.
I'll keep mine short before the Book of Earl. It's pretty simple because I think what Buddy just showed everybody was what detectives actually do at police forces, where you just start BSing about stuff, and then all of a sudden the light bulbs go off. So the light bulb went off. You covered it, but I don't think you covered all of it. So you were right that he was worried about pissing off his wife for being late. Okay, so instead of remember you forgot some of the facts. There was flesh on a machete.
Machete, yeah.
Right. He has a wound on his arm. So how not be more realistic than to cut yourself, right? And then have flesh on the machete, right?
Yeah,
and then
it's
we've all seen Boondock Saints. You just drop in a little bit of pneumonia, right? And then that takes all the blood out of it, so that when it gets tested, it's like, this is not of this world. But he literally had to go, like, this is probably the 4th or 5th time he's been late. So he's like, shit, I gotta go drastic. Like, I'm actually gonna cut myself.
Like,
right?
she's gonna leave this time.
Right. And so that's what I think. I think obviously we can go into spirits and UAPs, but I'm gonna go with the fact hearing everybody's opinions. Yes, a little bit of marketing, trying to make some money, a little bit of foreplay going on in a different relationship, i.e., getting probed. Okay, and I think both of them were getting probed different ways, and so that's why they just used aliens as an excuse. And he cuts himself to show that he killed all his aliens. That's what I'm good with.
Good take.
But all right, real quick book referral. Well, it might turn into a long one. You never know. Remember, we got Buddy's honesty caps, and those are to teach you to kind of just. They're mostly hit. Sometimes they miss, but mostly hit.
Yeah.
I'll give you that credit. Mostly your honesty caps hit, and those honesty caps hit you to where it's like, dude, you're being kind of a d-bag right here. Like, this is where you got to kind of square yourself away. And then the Book of Burl, for those of you who watch it for the first time, like Bobby Lee, he said he had a stroke with the 173rd. Nice. Okay. Kind of second-hand airborne unit, 173rd. All right, the JV team. Got it, right? Not quite the deuce, Bobby, but we'll give you a shout out. You guys are really good at writing Medal of Honor awards, though. I tell you that. Like, it's every single one of you fuckers gets one. Like how you shot
combat jumps too, right?
Medal of Honor, like what the hell. So, and I'm good friends with a couple guys that were on a couple of missions, so they understand the joke. I give you right at it. So the Book of Burl, for those of you watching the first time, is pretty much just like psychology 101. All right, just so that you get an idea of how things work and how you should orient your life. All right, here's what I'm scared about, and I made a LinkedIn post that got 3 likes. Okay, so it was a big deal. All right, like it was freaking huge, right? Like normally I get like 1 like, so I just tripled. All right, what I'm nervous about for the DoD, and again, the DoD always evolves, the Army always evolves, everything does, right? Is millennials in senior leadership positions. Okay, they're there now. All right, they're at the division level. All right, they're and approaching the core level. All right, actual millennials. Right, instant gratification. Okay, instant gratification is not a new thing. Everybody's always loved it. Okay. From the first time you touched your pee-pee as a kid and it felt good, that's instant gratification. All right, like everybody's always like that. Something
Dave,
that helps
weren't you and Megan working on your instant gratification? Like
something.
Make it less instant.
I mean,
you can call her later, ask her.
I've heard he's been struggling with that, but he's older now, so there's pills for that, Dave. We'll get into that later.
Don't have those problems.
Yeah, but. So
9 out of 10 doctors would agree.
Let's not pretend like the gray beards like John here, and then older than him, that instant gratification wasn't important to them either. It is. Like, what do I get right now? How does this help me right now? How do I win this fight right here, right now? And sometimes that's really important. So that's why we can't just throw it off to the side. And here's the other thing. Anytime you start a conversation with the big Earl that this is the reason why, I've stopped listening to you. Okay, because now you're a linear thinker, like I've talked about before, and you're not looking at the whole spectrum of things. All right. What I'm concerned about with millennials in key leadership positions, and I'm calling on senior leaders above them and junior followers below them to watch for it, is that instant gratification. The reason why I'm concerned about it, in my own personal experience of me liking it as well, is everybody's liked it, like I said before, but it's much easier to get it now, and it's much faster to get it now. You want to feel depressed? Go on Facebook. All right, go on Facebook and just scroll. All right, you will instantly feel depressed. All right, you're in a sports mood? Go on ESPN, start scrolling. all right, instantly you're fixed. You're good. Okay. And then like all of that information is there. All right. It doesn't make us weaker. I'm a millennial. All right. Dave's a millennial. Buddy, I think your generation.
I'm not. I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah. So it's like
the best generation.
It's pretty close. It's a pretty good one.
It fell in between the lines of the boomers and the millennials. We're just like we don't give a shit. Just do your job generation.
But what you got to be careful with in the DoD, as a leader, is that instant gratification of not understanding how this will help the Army or it'll help the Navy or whatever. It'll help whatever service you're in 5 years from now. All right. You're not going to see the impact of what you're doing right here. Okay. Now, obviously, we talked about this pre-show. You guys didn't hear there's a difference between a bad person and a bad leader, and then vice versa, a good person, bad leader, or good leader, bad person. Like it's very rare unless you go to the actual like good units that you get kind of the both, like the good leader, good person. And then even in those good units, you get one or the other, right? And we're working on it. So all I'm saying for the Book of Burl today is be very careful about that instant gratification as a leader, all right? Because you might not see how it helps you in your formation right now, all right? And because you're so used to getting that. And I'm just as guilty. Like I said, the Book of Burl is never, well, I forget the hypocritical because some of you don't understand that word. I love instant gratification. And here's my personal story. I real quick, like I went for 4 minutes. I'm watching Dave. Right, the instant gratification for me, and when I go talk to my shrink, is with my kids. Right, like I expect them to do something like right away. And then when you're talking to somebody with somebody else, just in the civilian world, because Dave's about to go to the civilian world, like you're so used to things being done right and or wrong, corrected, done right, like right away. And it's that instant gratification that you get as a military leader. Like I just fixed that. Right. Well, you're working on things and systems that were built years and years ago. They get evolved, they get better, they get built. And I'm sure having this guest on today is going to be an awesome response to this.
He's taking notes already. Yep.
Yeah, like I'm just saying. I call it time-based leadership. I made that quote up on LinkedIn. That one got 4 likes. No big deal. All right. So time-based leadership is understanding that you might not benefit from this, but in time, the DoD will. In time, the Army will. You're going to one that's got to suck and implement it. All right, like that's just is what it is. So yeah, that's all my book role was, and it can turn into anything else. Like and I always say it's a lot easier to destroy than it is to build. All right, so it's real easy to destroy your body. Okay, it's a lot harder to build it back up. All right, it's real easy to destroy a house. It's a lot harder to build one. All right, so if you destroy something, don't look for the instant gratification when you're trying to rebuild it. All right, it's going to take work. It's going to take discipline.
Yeah.
All right, and then that's the only way that it's actually ever going to see fruit. So that's the Book of Burl. Does anybody have any takes on that, or should I go right to introducing?
What chapter was that, Nick?
Well, actually, that came from one of the Beatitudes. It was
Appendix B.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was an appendix.
Yeah.
So that usually comes on Sundays. But
So does Dave.
Yeah.
Quit too, apparently.
But that's all I'm saying is don't. I'm
gonna call you later, buddy.
It's also like a business, or where you're running a company or whatever. You're doing this like if you're in charge and you're looking for instant gratification, you're going to be in trouble.
Well,
right? A lot of times.
What do you think? So do you think about it? Like everybody talks about or complains about like the instant gratification thing, and yeah, it's always an issue, right? When you put the pleasure of now before the I guess better outcome later. But if you think about it, like
in some ways it's great.
It's become a huge problem in the last incrementally it's gotten worse in the last say 100 years, right? And I would say that it does it not seem like the the fact is that it may not actually be just an instant gratification thing, but it's also our communication system is so much quicker now. Everything is at the tip of your fingers.
Yeah.
But you also have to you're forced to make a decision about what you think about something or your stance on something immediately, as opposed to being able to read and think about and
Process,
meditate
break
about
it down,
something.
critically think. Like you have to take a
Critically
side,
think about
right? You have to
something.
take a side right now.
I have to take the news just came on its 24-hour cycle, and we've got to assume what has happened right now, and we've got to put out all of these facts right now so that we can take a side and we can have our own, like we can go on Facebook or TikTok or whatever and make some statement so that we can virtue signal about what side of the right or wrong or history we're on. And then, but we don't have the time to actually think.
Yeah, we're discounting
about
everything.
what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, like 100 years ago, the news was 4 or 5 days after it happened, and because it was so long, the people that printed the news they were in a rush to get the news out, but they had the time to get the correct news out.
Yeah.
And now I've got 24 hours I have to fill. I have to fill it with something.
Yeah.
So I have to put
And it's got to make
there,
money.
and it's got to make money. So why not just?
I'm going to puff it a little.
I'm just going to put what I want to put on there, and people will watch it because I am the side they're supposed to watch. Yeah. I became a big fan of European or particularly British TV when I was there. Just saying.
You watch Sky News now? Yeah.
Oh no, they've got like they've got literally a show that have you ever watched British television? It's not like actors like we have, like all these like hens walking around like living real life. It's normal ass people acting. And it's just it's like, wow, it's just Jimmy from the down the block.
Like trigger happy TV.
Dude, they've literally got a show that is a show about people watching television shows and like getting their reaction from a television show. It's brilliant. It's awesome. Look at that. It's brilliant. Right? All right. Anyway, just saying.
I think CSM was about to say something.
I was just going to say, I think you're on to something there, Nick. And, ever since, I would say the unrest of 20, and then, with the change in the presidency, and then January 6th, and then the letter from the chairman and the service chiefs to the services telling you guys that we're still in, know this, that, hey, you have to reaffirm your oath, and we're going to do a stand down because violent extremism. May 6th of 2021, Secretary Austin went in front of the Pentagon press corps and was asked, what's his number one priority? And he said, to eliminate violent extremism out of the ranks of the military. A doctrinal term that we have used for Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the like for the last 20 years. Now he's saying that's the number one priority within the ranks. And then, as we did, or as the investigation throughout the military happened, it was minute numbers of violent extremist ideology or extremist ideology, and none of it was violent. So what that did, in my opinion, is it caused leaders to get after this virtue signaling stuff. And it was all about, I'm a leader of change. Well, change what, motherfucker? I mean, what fucking problem are you trying to fix? Are you telling me that there is violent extremists throughout the ranks, and you're going to fix that?
Hey, Sergeant Major, what would you call an infantryman other than a violent American extremist? Like, it's somebody that's willing to die for an ideal.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't call him an extremist because an extremist is a way of life.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Though, if you think about it, if you think about an American infantryman in any other country would be referred to as a violent extremist because they are extremely proud of being an infantryman. They're extremely proud of being an American, and they're willing to not only kill but to die for the people to the left and the right of them.
Well, that's
that's not what he's referring to.
Right now.
No, I know what he's referring to, but you can't. the fact that Secretary Austin said we're going to get rid of violent extremists, the definition of the only 1% of the population of the U.S. is in the military. Like the U.S. Army, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines are all violent extremist groups by definition.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah,
Like,
obviously
you know
he
what I
didn't mean it that way. He was saying that we have a violent extremist
let John finish his
within
point.
the ranks,
Yeah.
and now we're focusing on those issues that don't even exist instead of focusing on the real issues. But anyway, go ahead, CSM.
Yeah, so I would push back against that, because we are a disciplined force by nature, and we go and we deploy to fight and kill bad guys, not to kill everybody in sight and anybody that doesn't look like us. There's a level of discipline. There's the law of warfare that we go by and everything, and we look more to protect populations and build partner capacity as much as we are killing bad guys. So I think.
This should be a good fifth principle show. Let's do this.
Yeah, I would only argue, and I agree. I think the term that he used was very problematic in that, like everything that you just said, Sergeant Major. If I was a German in 1939, I would have said the exact same thing about Nazis.
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like,
okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now, through the lens of history or not being German, I would have said that Nazis are violent extremists. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying it's a very vague, huge term that encompasses not only Al Qaeda, Taliban, all of the people that we don't like. It also encompasses the people that we hire to do violent, extreme work for us.
Yeah, I got you. It's a semantics. It's a play on words.
Yeah.
So
well, it's
we're gonna do a whole show on this one.
This would be a good fifth principle.
That's the problem, right? With using vague terminology like that, because now,
like people first in the Army.
Well, like I said, now you have to. You have given the leaders in the Army basically like, hey, my first priority is to get rid of violent extremists. Well, now leaders in the Army have to go find violent extremists. Now we have to, in our
well, that's what he was saying.
Scale,
the
scale, no, I agree. But I'm saying the scale for violent extremists, because that term is so huge, can be everything from a skinhead that's out on the weekends doing like crazy shit, all the way to somebody who's maybe, I mean, Jesus, if you want to like term it correctly, you could call a Boy Scout a violent extremist. You know what I mean? Like
but I think we all know what he was talking about.
Yep.
And he was specifically getting after white supremacy.
Yep.
During the unrest of 20, I live right down the road from Seattle, and the Chop Chaz zone takeover, where 3 teenagers were killed, and then the 100 Nights of Violence in Portland, 6 fire bombings of the federal courthouse. You never heard anybody in the DOD, because there were guardsmen, reservists, and veterans that participated in both of those, but there was nothing said about that.
Right.
But the minute January 6th happened, now we have a problem with white supremacy in our ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we're not saying anything about the summer before with this far less extremist activity, my point in this is we created an uneven playing field. And the leaders in the formation saw it, and they were like, what problem am I supposed to solve here? And basically the message that I took it as is that the DOD and the administration knew better about the cohesion within the ranks at the tactical level, and they were going to put this policy forth to force tactical level leaders to have these spurious conversations to see if we have extremists in our ranks. I think we're a little bit more cohesive force than what was coming down from the strategic level. And I think, yes, were there people that demonstrated radical ideology in the ranks down there? Yeah, but none of it was violent. My point is, in all of this, we wasted time, resources, and we fissured cohesion within the ranks because of a political narrative that came from the White House. And the January 6th thing,
and instant
is what they were
gratification.
looking for to get after this and push this narrative into the DOD. So now push it forward to what Nick was talking about with this instant gratification. We started this people first initiative, and I'm all for making sure that we have top of the line training, top of the line living facilities, top of the line everything for the troops. But all of a sudden, people first started taking on a mind of its own, and it was me first. And it wasn't just me first, it was me first right now. And so, I'm waiting for all of a sudden somebody to say Ranger School needs to be 1 day long so everybody can be a Ranger, or something like that. And I'm being kind of a smart ass, but the point is,
you're in the right place.
If we are addressing feelings within the ranks and we think we have this massive cohesion fissure and we have this or fracture and this massive morale problem and everything, then the way to go about it isn't about going after people's feelings. And I talk about this, great segue from my book. The reason I wrote this book is I wanted to talk about a life of living, getting ready to go and fight against our enemies and preparing for the worst day of your life. And I think because we're in whatever you want to call it, interwar force or a peacetime force now after 31 December and the global war on terrorism is over with and we're not issuing the NDSM anymore.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, over the horizon stuff is going on still and everything, but it's not the same.
According to the media, it's over.
Yeah. But the point is, I was just at an Army installation talking to a bunch of infantrymen, bunch of small unit leaders who have a right shoulder sleeve insignia, but they don't have a combat infantryman's badge or a combat medical badge or a combat action badge. So they have been deployed to somewhere that warranted being a combat zone, but they haven't seen any fighting. And me talking to them about being prepared to fight and win on a moment's notice and talking about the threats from China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and everything, I might as well have been speaking Mandarin Chinese to them because I could tell that was not the focus now. The focus is now about getting after this people first thing and, hey, when can I get this platoon sergeant fired for making me do push-ups or whatever, And I really worry about that because prior to 9/11, we had this same kind of thing going on in terms of going to war was a distant frickin' planet. And then all of a sudden, this happened. We went into Iraq. Then the battlefield changed after we defeated the Iraqis and the insurgents came out, and we weren't prepared for that battlefield. And what was the result? Now, don't get me wrong. We adapted over the year. And by about 2007 and 8, during the surge, we had the most hardened combat force that we had since Vietnam, but it took us, flag draped coffins coming home to wake up and say, hey, we got to adjust to this battle. So my point in all of this is, we got to just make sure that we don't let all of this stuff that the military is trying to do to get after, better morale, better recruiting, better retention, all this other stuff, to get in the way of why the military exists, to fight and win nations' wars anytime, anywhere, and under any circumstances. And my fear is that we're starting to let combat and the chances to go to combat kind of just fade off now, and we're focused on being a peacetime military. I'll stop there.
Yeah, then I'll introduce you for the book as well. But to caveat off of that, and so it behoove you to listen, Dave. But
I'm all ears, bro.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's I had this argument with I don't know if you knew Sergeant Major Kevin Floyd, John. Did you know Kevin Floyd? No. I think he retired out of as the Garrison Sergeant Major out at Fort Benning. But he was a great leader, 6th RTB Sergeant Major. And
I know who he is. Yeah, I know him.
And he was asking me about my opinion on what the Army releasing policy that, we have to get back into the African force is not getting back to, basics and how to train and all this. And I'm sitting there like, why would you change anything we're fucking doing? I'm like, every staff sergeant right now has deployed 3 times. Every E7 is deployed 3 to 4 times at that point. At that point, right? Except for the disgruntled, Ranger instructor that got lost for like 6 months at 6 years at Ranger School because he couldn't couldn't go to a unit, right? So, but my point, like, I think you hit that there is where it's part of the instant gratification, and it transcends all generations. So where it's like, I want to find something wrong because it was better when I was in. Right. I need to find something that I'm so afraid of now. Right. Like right now, like I said, I just want people to pay attention to it, because I think it's dumb to say that there's not great leaders in the Army right now. I think it's dumb to say that there's not people that can look forward to building a better team, in the long run, even after they leave, and there's a general, I won't say him by name because he's still in, but he always said, he's like, your picture's coming off that wall. And he's like, your greatest accomplishment will come years later when someone says they're doing that now. Right? It's because you set that up. You didn't see any of the benefit of it. Your OER, your NCOER didn't say anything about it, but you did that. Right? And so he's like, just make the place better for the next guy to come in. Give the next guy to come in the opportunity to exceed. And it was like, that was a great line, I thought, from that general. And it
Your
was
sole purpose, especially as an NCO, is creating future leaders,
But as I said, being aware of the fact that your followers are instant gratification at the max. So it's not a bad thing, but it can turn into something bad. So it's like, keep your eye on it and coach it. It's like, hey, you can understand that this is coming, but you have to think about guys that are 9 years old right now. All right. Yeah. They're 9. In 10 years, they're going to be in this Army. What are they coming into? Right. So just looking forward to.
So I wanted to give you a quick example of what I was talking about. So I was at an event in New York City that was supporting a veteran association, and there were some active duty folks in there, great Americans and everything. And this really influential speaker got up and talked about how we rapidly deployed 6,000 paratroopers to Poland and everything. And they said, can you believe that? In less than 24 hours, 6,000 paratroopers deployed to a combat zone. And I said, not a fucking combat zone, okay? They went to Poland and, they weren't doing any kind of combat. They were doing training, building interoperability, but they were taking care of a lot of Ukrainian refugees and everything. My point is that we still want to use terms like, just going overseas, like I asked a kid, how many times you've been deployed? Well, 3 times in the last 5 years. I said, where? He said, twice to Germany and once to Korea. I'm like, brother, okay,
the language has changed. Yes.
I'm like, brother, I don't know that, you saw any enemy fire when you were up in Itaewon drinking soju, or, down in Munich at, drinking at Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest, yeah.
I'm like, but my point in all of this is we want to continue to talk about being warriors and having this ethos and everything, but it's from a framework of peacetime military. And I think that's a good way for us, especially if we get into a large-scale combat operation, that we're going to, get our nose bloody. And it would be unfortunate if that's what happened.
Right.
We're going to get our nose bloody in the next if whatever comes up next. And it's not going to be, it's going to be for one reason. And one reason predominantly.
Well, we don't know what they're called.
We're so risk averse to everything, whether it's social or actual.
Because of instant gratification, you're so worried about.
We're so risk averse to realistic, actual training that there is no walk or crawl, walk, run method anymore. It's crawl, don't hurt yourself, stand up, sit back down, get back down. You're doing too much. You might hurt yourself. We're so worried about, we don't want to add stress to these kids when they're in training. Why? Do you think that Russians are going to at some point go, oh, sorry, comrade, I did not need to cuss at you. I just want to cut your balls off. No, it's not going to happen. They are not going to give the enemy doesn't give a shit about your feelings. The enemy doesn't care how you feel. And if you can't take me yelling at you and telling you that you're a dumb fucking retard because you did something wrong, or you doing something unsafe on a range, and me grabbing you up and throwing you on the ground and telling you that if you do it again, we're going to go after it. Like you and I are getting after it. If you can't take that from me, who's doing it because I care about you, then you're not going to be
What are
able
you
to
gonna do with
take
the
it
enemy?
when somebody
Yeah.
wants to kill you. What are you going to do? And then we worry about like PTSD and all this other stuff. Well, yeah, PTSD is going to be an issue for the next generation of people.
PTSD is never going to go away because it's a blanket term.
Well, the difference is you're expecting them to go from getting coddled at their parents' house to joining the army where they can't get off a bus and get yelled at, to being coddled by their platoon sergeant, coddled by their squad leader, coddled by their team leader, and then they jump into a marathon of fuckery that just dicks with their head.
A marathon of fuckery is a good shirt.
Oh yeah, they jump into this marathon of
Got it. We'll have it next week.
of mental fuckery, and then they have to sit through. They can't leave the marathon. They can't fall out. They have to be there. And then when they come out the other side, they haven't trained for a marathon, but they just ran one. You think that they're going to be able to walk? You think they're going to be able to, like, they're not going to have jacked up feet, legs after they did it? No. It's the same exact thing. If you don't prepare yourself and train for a marathon, if you just jump into running 26.2 miles, hell, the first guy that did it died.
You see what happens when a bunch of illicit guys and three out of the 4 Rangers get on here and start talking. Sorry, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
But we gotta get into the reason why John is actually on the show. We don't have to actually get into it, but we will because we want to do it. We want to help it out. John wrote a book. All right. And
in the process.
Right in the process. So it's pre-order right now. That link is in the description on the post. I just have to say, like, because we've had some interactions before. He's been on the show before, and I just
it's time, right? Yeah.
And it's almost like he actually got jealous of like Navy SEALs and was like, you know what, I'm gonna write a book.
He needs a movie then too,
right? Because I don't think enough people have seen me or know who I am.
Here's the problem: in order to compete with Navy SEAL books, you have to lie about at least 3/4.
Well, we don't know
half of it has to be.
We don't know because the book's not out yet, and this is what
Bobby Lee in the chat said he's ordering.
Yeah, so we got
there's one.
We got the cover there. It says "Surrender or Die," and this might be a Cav Scout thing. I don't know, but I don't know what hand and arm single he's got going on there. So I want first, before he gets into the real details, I want to know what hand and arm single that is. All right, and then, but no, just a lot of people know who you are and know what you've done. But just talk about the book, the process, how it feels, what you've done, and what you hope people get out of it. And then welcome to the Trash Talk Hour.
Yeah. So thanks, gents. So, ever since I retired, especially with, my time as the SEAC, with everything that went there, 1 year under the Obama administration, 3 years under the Trump administration, working with a great man in General Joe Dunford, and then Secretary Jim Mattis, and then having to go through 6 months of being suspended because of some professional jealousy stuff and everything. And then just having the opportunity to spend 1 month shy of 38 years in uniform, and people kept saying, hey, you ought to write a book, and everything. And so I always wanted to write one, but I knew that if I had to do it by myself, it was going to be tough. So I was on a plane flying back from Tampa, and the guy sat down next to me. He's a big guy in the mindfulness business. And we started talking, and he Googled me, and he said, dang, dude, you ever think about writing a book? And I said, yeah, but I don't know how to get after it, And so he put me on a 3-way text with an author coach, a well-renowned one. Ann is her name. And within 30 minutes, she had texted me back, said, hey, let's talk. And so that was in November. We've started the process and, got the manuscript done in a hurry. And then, I didn't have to write anything. All I had to do was talk into this thing, a digital recorder. And I did that for a week between Christmas and New Year's, 6 hours of recording everything I wanted to talk about from my childhood, my military career, serving as the SEAC, PME Hard, E-Tool Nation, fighting wars, the kind of stuff we've been talking about, the invisible wounds of wars, then talking about my wife and family. And then my last chapter is on leadership. And some of the things that we're talking about here is some of the stuff that I want to really amplify in the book. But, going through this process, it was almost therapeutic because I was reaching areas in my brain I hadn't touched, trying to remember things, from Operation Just Cause and Operation Desert Storm and everything. And, my first combat services and stuff. So I'm fired up about it. The release date is going to be on the 27th of February. I'll be in Miami, Florida at a book event where it will release, but people will be able to buy it not only on the page that you shared, but also it'll be available on Amazon and Kindle. And shortly after the book is released, we're going to get an audio version too. And I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the voice on that. I don't want some bot, to be the.
Buddy will do it for you. I just pay him $20 and a case of beer.
Hey, and that's the other thing.
And some cordial.
Writing a book ain't cheap, man. People writing a book, and I promised 3 things when I first started this. I'm going to make sure this thing is authentic. It's going to be accurate because, was just mentioned about some people get on there and lie, and it's got to be attractive. So why would people want to do, buy my book? And so I don't look to call out anybody. I don't look to make too many political statements in the book, but I just call it like it is and tell the truth and everything that I did in my career. And certainly when I was in Washington, D.C. for the last 4 years of my career. And so I'm excited about it. And, so back to the hand and arm signal. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that?
So on that day, I was
a no-go in Florida.
Yeah, I was the Corps Sergeant Major, in charge of all the regional commands in Afghanistan. I happened to be out patrolling in Kapisa Province. And if you remember, the Al-Ashay Valley out there in Tagab Valley and everything, some very dangerous areas. And in the southern part of it is the highest peak is Saint Mihiel. And it's called that because that's where the French were getting their ass kicked all the time. And so we were out there patrolling and we climbed all the way to the top of that fucking mountain. And when I hit the top, there was my comms guy and he had the camera and I was just like, it's fucking over. I made it to the fucking top, man, because it was a fucking haul, man. But so yeah, this is and I'm excited that I'm able to do this and then get it out. So 27 February is when the book will be released.
Yeah, so we have obviously the premise of Veteran Trash Talk is to get ahead of veteran suicide, not stop it, get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Get people out there talking about it. And part of my book of Earl was about PTSD as well. It's like you spent all these years destroying things which were easy to do and now you have to build it back up. And that takes time, takes effort. Now you did some work with Ryan Hendrickson as well. Mm-hmm. And when we had him on the show, he was talking about how much relief it was for him to put his thoughts on paper. How did that feel for you as doing that? Like when you started talking to your recorder, what did that do for you?
Well, like I said, it's, and Ryan's exactly right. It's very therapeutic. I wrote a foreword for a book, Peace After Combat, that was written by a psychologist, Dr. Tiffany Tajiri. And I talk about, and I talked about it on this show previously, how, veterans that have seen hard combat, they dread going to the grocery store, because it is a stateside peacetime version of Battle Drill 6. Enter a building and clear a room. You're going in there, you got shelves, your peripheral vision is taken off. You got the blue hairs with their carts sideways and everything. So it's a blocking obstacle. And for some veterans, then they've got to find a place of dominance. And it's over in the produce section, looking back so they can see everybody and everything. And I just wanted to bring in one of the chapters, talk about the normal reaction to the abnormal shit we've seen in combat. And it's had happened to us. And I talk about this all the time. A platoon on a mountain in Afghanistan, up in Nuristan, they run out of ammunition and they're trying to get more ammunition brought in and everything. Well, translate that to when a guy comes back home and he goes in to get a cup of coffee in the morning and he's ran out of coffee. automatically inside the same kind of feeling pops up, that, oh shit, I'm out of something and everything. But that's
triggers.
just, yeah, it's a trick. It's normal. It's a normal reaction to the abnormal shit we've been through, and we've got to normalize that, and what I love about our special operations forces with, the preservation of force and fitness and the other things that they're doing is the normalcy they are trying to bring to getting after, better mental and emotional strength, as they continue to get after the physical aspect. And I think big military, we got to, if we want to correct veteran suicide and we want to get after that, then we've got to, eliminate this stigma associated with seeking help,
Right.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That's what, yeah. That's what I'm asking your expertise on, is because you have that experience and that at obviously the most strategic level possible. It's at what point do we actually say, hey, look, this is what we need to do over the mission, right? And that's why JC Glick, him and I always have this discussion, and he coined the term people centric. He's like, it shouldn't be people first, right? It's mission first, people centric. Because like Buddy was saying previously, is like, hey, you want to call me an extremist for wanting to kill people to save my family, then I guess that's what I am. So at what point in time does that's the sloppiness. I'm trying to phrase the question right. At what point in time is, you know what? Fuck all y'all. This is what we're doing. Like, don't care what pronoun you're asking for. So
no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I think, and again, I'm looking on the other side of the fence, but I'm with troops every week now, in some form. As a matter of fact, Monday I'm flying to Fort Stewart to do some stuff with the 3rd Infantry Division and the 15th ASOS there. And, one thing that has to transcend any of this stuff is that, the trust that the troops have in a leader, and that understanding that when there's not the time and space to deliver the why, and they just say, hey, shut the fuck up and move out because we got to execute, then they understand why, I mean, we can't have this imbalance where the leader is so focused on being empathetic that he's forgotten about the accountability and discipline necessary to be effective in combat. You know what I mean?
You know what? I got an in briefing, and I hate to give this
because you're special forces
little tidbit. I got an in briefing when I was in E5 from a captain in the 82nd Airborne Division, Captain Holder, and when I came in to his office to go take my little team in Bravo Company, he said, "Hey, look, like you guys, we already knew each other. I'd been in the battalion for a little bit." He's like, "Hey, happy to have you here, but here's the thing. I need you to practice leadership, not likership. I don't need you to be friends with everybody. I need you to be a leader. Those things aren't the same. You can get along with your guys. They need to respect you, but at the end of the day, they're not your friend. There are other team leaders that can be your friend. There are other squad leaders that can be your friend. But your boys are not your friends. They're the people that you're in charge of. They're the people that have to do what you tell them to do. But you guys don't have to be. It works better if you get along, but you won't be going out with them. You can, and I always had that. Even when I was a team sergeant, we were out in different countries. Like, hey, we're all
drag
going
race
out.
in Russia and Syria. Buddy's team was doing that.
We're all going to go out and have dinner, and we're going to have a few drinks. And the team leader and myself would go out with them, and we would stay for a couple hours, and we would have dinner, and we would have a couple drinks, and then team leader would call the Uber, and I'd go over to the team and be like, "Hey guys, we're about to leave. Don't get in trouble, but go have a good time," because it's not my job to party with them. My job to make sure that they're safe. my job to make sure that they have some off time. It's my job to make sure they're trained, but it's not my job to go slap asses with them. Like, that's what.
Yeah, as soon as it's back then, when I got to the 82nd in 03, 04, you went to WLC, you made 85, you left that company. Like,
Yeah, well,
they wouldn't even keep you in the same company. You wouldn't be around the same soldiers. You wouldn't be around the same NCOs. Like you,
right? But even when you go to a different company, and you get there were always guys that tried to be buddy, and they wanted to be the guy that they wanted to be the cool teacher at school who lets you get away with shit.
Yep.
And it doesn't take very long, even at like a specialist or an E3, to realize like, hey, yeah, that guy's cool. But that other squad that keeps getting yelled at is where I want to be, because they're the ones that are A, going to survive, B, are getting after it, and C, are trained, and they know what's going on. Their team sergeant or their team leader doesn't always give them hugs and, donuts in the morning, but they respect him, and they know their job. They know their job. Those guys are all a bunch of dumbasses. Like, nah,
because you had the douchebags. You had the douchebags that you didn't respect. You just feared them because they were complete assholes. And I think we talked about at the beginning of the show. But then you got those that you actually respected, and those were sometimes the NCOs that would fucking Joe up in front of a battalion like for an hour. But you knew that guy was going to take care of you, and he took care of his squad and team.
And buddy, I think what you just described is why we have this risk aversion in the force, because it has become convenient to weaponize the IG. Or the equal opportunity officer.
Oh yeah.
And and so it's causing these leaders like, I was having a conversation with an incoming brigade commander last night over a beer here at JBLM. 43% of eligible lieutenant colonels this year in the Army opted out to compete for command.
Wow.
43%. Almost half. And you know why? Because they don't want the pain in the ass of dealing with all of a sudden they hurt somebody's feelings because they're make them do something that potentially will save their life in combat, but it hurt their feelings, And I always say this, you remember we were in recruit training or when I was a young troop, and my NCO would get in front of me and rip my ass. What was going through my mind is I'm going to do whatever is necessary to make sure this guy doesn't yell at me or I don't disappoint him again.
I don't want to let him down.
You just hit the nail on the head.
Well,
you said I don't want to
flip.
The worst thing I can ever remember was disappointing a team sergeant or my team leader or my platoon sergeant.
If when you had a amazing leader.
If I had and I was lucky. There were a lot of guys. I don't give a shit who you are. The 2505, the 505 back in the day was a breeding 100%. Ground for awesome dudes that
went on to have obviously.
So went on to have great careers and were all really solid leaders. And I would blame that on the leaders that we had when we were growing up. That being said,
setting up success.
If I had a leader that came in and smoked the shit out of me, it was way better than that same guy coming in and just looking at me and like, you know what, man?
Telling you to read a book to learn how to be a leader.
I'm just fucking disappointed in you. Like I'm disappointed in how you did. And then, dude, at no point did I ever like shed a tear, but there were a couple of times
that hurts.
Staff sergeant would come in and be like, "I'm disappointed," and I'd be like,
"Fuck."
All right. Can you get out?
But you know what it is now?
The
The difference now is what's going through that trooper's mind now. Generally, I'm going to go see whoever I need to see and file a complaint so this person doesn't yell at me like this again.
Yeah.
And when is
and then the NCOs are trying to navigate that issue. Yeah,
but when does the Army, the Navy, when does the military as a whole get a hold of IG and be like, hey, you still work for us, right? So here's the thing: are you weakening our force, or are you strengthening our force? If something happens and it's it's illegal, or it's something that's bad, fine. But if it's something that's in the gray area, or don't bother these guys, because the easiest way to take that away from somebody is when a colonel or a sergeant major goes in and says, "Hey, here's the number for IG. I fucking dare you to call them. Call them. Do whatever you want."
Well, right. So like,
you gotta prove it.
As a first sergeant, I had a great IG in Hawaii, and like they would just call me and they'd be like, "Hey, first sergeant, did you say this to this guy?" I go, "Yep." and he was like, do I need to ask why, or is it good? And I'm like, you should probably ask why on this one, or no, it's good. Right? Like, here's why. This guy just got caught with, methamphetamines, and CID said don't prosecute him yet because we're working this dude, and it's like, so
you kind of need to know what's going on.
So like I said that, yes, knowing that I could fucking kill this guy right now, which I wanted to do, but it's like, yeah, I absolutely said that. Yeah, not to get away from Sergeant Troxel and his book here again. We can keep
great
talking
discussion.
We can talk, that's phenomenal for hours. And this, like I said, this is what happens when you get NCOs on the freaking same page. It's like they just start. We can argue all day and come up with great things. What I'm curious as well with your book, what I can't wait for it to come out as well, is at what point, when you were, like you said, you talked about your childhood, talked about some of your service. At what point did you reflect on it and say, "Yep, that's why I did that"? Does that question make sense? Because I like.
Are you talking like a specific event, or?
Yeah, you don't have to give it away in the book, but it's like, is there a point when you were going through it, when you were talking, because like you said, you brought up your childhood. Was there a point where it's like, that's how I became the man that I became?
Yeah, I talk about it, in my upbringing, the west end of Davenport, Iowa. I talk about that. That's where I grew up at. And it was a blue collar, low income area where both parents had to work. And, there was a lot of folks that, there was bars everywhere. I talk about this. You couldn't swing a dead cat in the west end of Davenport without hitting a bar. And during the week, those hardworking people would get off, go and get a cold one on their way home and everything. On the weekend, it was a breeding ground for street fighting. And that's kind of what I was doing. And I talk about in the book my aha moment when got into a fight after sledding one night and drinking a case of beer, and me and my friends, and we left these guys on the side of this hill. The snow was turning red with blood and everything, and we hauled ass to get out of there, and a car followed us and pulled us over, and it was 2 undercover cops, and I got arrested. And I ended up spending some time in Scott County Jail, and I had an epiphany there, and like, I'm not going to do this. I need to do something, and I need to live a life with honor. And after that, I went and saw an Army recruiter and joined the military. And then I talk about it right after I got to my first duty station. I met my wife, Sandra. We've been married 39 years. She's a first generation Mexican American, so a pasty white guy from Iowa coming into a first generation Mexican American family. Talk about the scar tissue of crossing cultures, And
in El Paso.
In El Paso, yes. so
Spanish for the Paso.
But so then it's the events throughout my career that told me, hey, this is why I'm doing this. And then, making the combat jump into Panama in '89, that made it all, this all makes sense now. Why we train like we fight, why we have high standards, why we don't virtue signal, why, as what Buddy was talking about, that when leaders say they're disappointed, it has a huge impact on wanting to right the wrong that I just did and everything like that. And then turning around 7 months later and going to Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And then how that focus from there for me was all about combat then. For the last 30 years of my career, I focused on nothing but making sure my team was going to be ready when the call came, And in a peacetime military in the 90s, in Germany, in a heavy mech unit, telling my guys we're wearing camouflage, we're training in body armor, and every time we go to a range, it's a deliberate tactical operation. We're not just going to go park in the parking lot and get out and go up to the range and start firing. We're going to do an assault on the tower and everything. We're going to put some OP4, everything I did. And people were like, damn, dude, what's wrong with you, man? Why don't you calm down a little? I said, I'm not going to calm down because I've seen it, with flag draped coffins coming home. And I'm going to make sure that, don't get me wrong, the enemy gets a vote, and we can't stop the enemy from killing friendlies, but we can damn sure be best prepared to face those conditions on the worst day of our life if we train for it every day. And so I talk about that. And then I talk about being in the Pentagon. being a sergeant major, that on any given day, you're a long ways from haircuts and cigarette butts now. This is all about how do you, a guy like me that was a conventional fighter, an 82nd guy,
How do you
and all of
navigate
a sudden
that?
I'm doing a town hall with a squadron of SEAL Team 6 guys, and what message am I sending to these guys so they understand? So, or all of a sudden I got a bunch of Delta operators in my office because I just went to Syria with them and everything. Being able to deliver that strategic message every day and what that meant as a sergeant major. And then in some ways, kind of speaking your mind at that level can get you in trouble. And it definitely got me in trouble.
Yeah, you said it the last time you were on the show, and that's what's key is that when you have an authentic leader, all right, until you prove me wrong otherwise, which you're running out of time to do that, you're an authentic leader. So, this is what I talk about when I tell people, like, you just don't do the wrong thing. You don't do the wrong thing, right? And sometimes bad things in our world are the right thing, right? Like that's what we're gonna go do. And kind of like what Buddy was talking about. So maybe, I know Buddy has to leave here in a second, but that authenticity got you in trouble. If it wasn't authentic, I think you would have been in trouble. Does that make sense?
No, I would have, if I wouldn't have,
if you weren't authentic.
Yeah, if I would have been, virtue signaling or being risk averse, like Buddy talked about and everything, I never would have gotten in trouble. But guess what else? I wouldn't have been making an impact. I would have been Mr. Irrelevant up there doing nothing.
But you could have done what it seems like 75% of people do. And that's, well, when I get promoted, then I'll have an impact. I'll be able to impact more people. So I'll just keep my mouth shut until I make E8, or I'll keep my mouth shut until I make E9, or I'll keep my mouth shut until I get this next birth. And then when I do, then I'll be able to impact. That's what I'm really gonna. It's like the procrastination of doing what you're paid to do anyway.
Yeah,
you're an E9. You're not going to be an E9er. Like at the end of the day, even being the sergeant major for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that even being the sergeant, you're still the same E9 as a battalion sergeant major. So if you walk into an office of a sergeant major, he should be able to sit there and go, "Hey John, what's up? Hey man, we got some issues down here." We should be able to talk plainly, and we should be able to tell each other the truth, how it really looks on the ground, so that you can be able to advise who you're supposed to advise so that we can do our job. But we spend so much time messaging these days, like, well, we need to message this to higher. Would you mean tell them the truth, what's going on, so that they know? How about we just not change any reports when they're coming up? And then when they read them, they can read what is actually going on. That always drove me crazy. Well, when I'm a brigade sergeant major, then I'll do something. Like, but you're already a sergeant major. Like,
well, it's excuses for not doing anything, buddy. That's literally what it is. That's all.
As the SEAC, I say this: when you're the senior enlisted guy and your job is to deliver the strategic why to the troops and get the pulse of the force for the chairman, SecDef, and the administration, 75% of my traveling, I was doing nothing but listening. I was listening to others tell me what was going on. And then I was delivering what our priorities were and trying to make sense. So, a force in Libya, in Misrata, Libya, that is doing counter ISIS operations, but they're in the middle of a civil war between the government of national accord and the Libyan National Army. And the minute I get on the ground, the first thing the O5 says to me is, "Hey, what's the foreign policy driving this shit here? Because we're out here killing a bunch of terrorists, but we're getting shot at by both sides here." So my conversation when I get there shouldn't be about, well, I'll take that back to the chairman and everything, or I have to deliver. And so I had to study. I had to make sure I was up to snuff through the J5 on the joint thing of what was going on in each combatant command. I had to know the campaign plans for all the services. So when I showed up on the ground wearing an Army uniform, talking to a bunch of guys in the Navy, I better be able to deliver something to them. And as you said it, buddy, when I got selected as a SEAC and I got extended beyond 35 years, my letter said, "Hey, you are extended till this time you'll have 38 years in. No other extension is authorized. This is your terminal assignment. Basically, congratulations, you're the SEAC, but you ain't getting another job. And so I knew then I had to make an impact.
Yeah.
And I had to give the job of SEAC irreversible momentum, as General Dempsey told me when at the ceremony of me getting sworn in. And so I was like, if some staff colonel was telling me no on something that I was trying to get wrong, but didn't have the authority to tell me yes, I would say, fuck you, dude. Let me talk to the 2-star. All right. Because you can't approve what I'm trying to do anyways. I wouldn't put up with stuff like that. And then I would see things in the Pentagon, a general walking down or an admiral walking down in some young enlisted E5 would say, hey, good morning, sir. And that general wouldn't say anything back to him. And I would say, hey, sir, that sergeant just said good morning to you. How about reciprocating the respect they just gave you? And I would do it in this kind of voice in the hallways of the Pentagon. And that would piss people off, But I didn't give a shit.
Because I love that. Yep.
I was not going to
I gotta bounce.
Yeah. Go to your European girlfriend.
Hey, John, it was up. No, actually, I got to go meet up with
Coach Quinn.
The guys. Anyway, all right.
Take care, buddy.
Well,
great conversation, brother.
Love you, brother.
Yeah. It's an awesome show. Hey, before I go, Chris is going to put up the thing, but if you guys want to buy a raffle ticket for Warriors,
I'll cover it, buddy. I'll cover it.
Nice. Go ahead.
I'll cover it. Don't put it up yet, Chris. We'll cover it. We'll cover it for the with the AAR. But yeah, go enjoy yourself.
Later, man.
As long as you got some time, Sergeant Major, then this is great.
9 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Then, the last thing I want to say is everything I just heard. I was listening, and it's so powerful for those of you watching, understanding like what leaders actually do. And I will fluff you up a little bit here. You're a leader. And people should go buy your book because people are always looking for how can I become better. Yep. Now I want you, not you, but you listening and watching. I want you to think about a position that you were put in where you thought that it was too much, to where it was I can't handle this. All right, doubt it was gonna kill you, and so like. I can't imagine it, but I can't really empathize with you in that position to where it's like when you got there and it's like, here's what I have. Here's what I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us have trouble messaging to our formation, and now you have to message to 5 different branches.
Yeah.
Right. So for the last little plug before we turn it over to the AAR, what in that book inspires people to just get out of their comfort zone? And because I don't think that's what they get from you. I don't think people they see the E-Tool or Die, they see the Surrender or Die, E-Tool Nation, Surrender or Die, they see that stuff. But what was it about, like you just explained, that responsibility of I have to talk to every branch now?
Yeah.
Maybe explain that for a couple minutes, and then we'll close it out.
So I do talk about this in the book, in the chapter about being the SEAC. So how many times I've seen this, a battalion level sergeant major that's got 2 JTACs in their battalion. Well, I got a joint force here. No, you don't, dude. You got an Army infantry battalion. You got a couple of JTACs. You might have a couple of Navy electronic warfare guys back in the IED fight and everything. I said, but you're not a joint warfighter, okay? And I would see so many of these Army guys get up in front of other services and the other services, and they would talk in their service acronyms, and they would be sending themes and messages based on their service that had no bearing on the other service. So my focus was to make sure that one of the first trips I did, I went on the George Washington aircraft carrier when it was when it was deployed with 5,000 sailors and 1,000 Marines. And I get on board, and the captain of the ship says, hey, you got an all hands call in the hangar bay here in an hour with everybody. And here I am, a guy in an Army uniform, and I'm talking to 5,000 sailors and 1,000 Marines. And I've got to be able to send a message that resonates with them. Well, thankfully, I had just read the Navy's strategy and the direction they were going with developing people. I had read their campaign plans and everything. So I could speak intelligently about that. And my message in the book is that as a leader, you have to continue to be a learning leader. And you have to continue every day to be better tomorrow than you were today, and more knowledgeable tomorrow than you were today. And sometimes that means you're going to talk to an E4 to get educated on something. I used to hate it in combat when I would go on patrol with a platoon in Afghanistan when I was the Corps CSM. And I would ask the lieutenant or the platoon sergeant, hey, you've got these goldies here or these mine hounds and everything. How do those things work? And they would say, well, hey, PFC Snuffy, come over here. I'm like, okay, Snuffy is the guy operating it, but you are responsible.
Why do you not know how to work it?
Yeah, on how to employ anything and everything within your formation. And we go back to what you talked about, Nick, earlier today, about this instant gratification. And so many leaders are focused on that myopic kind of shit in terms of making people feel good. And I'm a leader of change, even though they don't have no fucking idea what they're trying to change, other than they're trying to push a narrative that will make them popular. And as Buddy said before he left, being liked and instead of leading. And I talk about every day you got to be better, and you got to be more knowledgeable, and you got to study. And as the SEAC, I went home with a zipper bag every night full of reading materials that I read, and to get me up to snuff for whatever I was getting ready to do next. So that's the difference. When you're the sergeant major of the Army, you've been in the Army for 30 years. So you don't have to study extensively about the Army. But when you're the SEAC, and now you're responsible for 3 million active Guard and Reserve soldiers, sailors, Marines, Airmen, Coast Guardsmen, Guardians, active Guard and Reserve, then you better know what the hell you're talking about. Or they're going to see you as, I don't know what that guy does, but, he didn't tell me anything worth a shit,
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to, in the chapter about being the SEAC and the leadership chapter, it's about being an effective leader through your example, the presence you have as a leader. When you show up, do people get excited? Do they get fired up? Or do they say, oh shit, here comes asshole? Are you doing the things that you expect the troops to do through your performance? And then are you persistent at getting after the striving of excellence in your formation, whether it's marksmanship, battle drills, fitness, efficiency reports,
anything
whatever the hell it is.
Anything, yeah.
So that's what I kind of talk about in there. Hopefully it's a message that a leader coming up through the ranks in the military or someone in the corporate world will look and say, that's what I've been trying to do, and I'm going to get after this. Again, the bottom line is the reason it's not coming out to the 27th of February, because I'm going to make sure that it is authentic, that it is accurate, and that it is attractive. I'm not just going to put something out to get it on the market. I'm going to make sure it's right. And so right now I'm editing the manuscript right now. Once I edit it all and, fix the errors, add to or take away, I'll take it to the official editor who will put it in the book format and then to the publisher, and then it'll come out. So I'm fired up about it.
No, that's awesome. And again, to those of you watching, Veteran Trash Talk Nation, Gruntworks Nation, and anybody listening on the podcast world, John has not proven us wrong yet that we think that he's a great leader. So it was our privilege to have you on. And
always, yeah.
And I know that a lot of people suffer from imposter syndrome, that they don't think they were a good leader. John doesn't suffer from that because he was a good leader. I don't suffer from that. Dave does. All right, Dave.
I'm just catching the heat today, huh?
No, Dave, you were a good leader. You were
until I went recruiting, huh? Yeah.
No, even still, then you had to lead those guys.
Let's add that I was Nick's platoon sergeant for a while.
No, I'm actually see, this is the point. I'm actually giving him a compliment. I'm saying
I know, brother. Yeah.
You were a good leader. You are a good leader, and we can learn from the amount of responsibility that Sergeant Major Troxel John has. And had
for sure,
right? And then, as you can see, I'm gonna put this out there for the AR. As you can see in society, look at somebody who was successful, and then look at what they do after that. Okay, so he just said he's traveling, he's talking to troops. It hasn't ended.
No,
it hasn't stopped. All right. And that's what veteran trash talk is all about. It doesn't stop, right? The brotherhood and the sisterhood doesn't have to stop, right? Like it's here. Like let's promote everybody. Let's get everything done. If you want to start a candle company,
come on the show. Let's promote it.
We'll promote you. We don't care. I got no idea about a candle. Like it smells good when you light it. Got it. But like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Get on here, promote your business. We want to promote you. We want to make sure that you're successful. And so, John, absolute pleasure having you on. And then where do we go for your book for the pre-order? I know it's in there, but just say it for the audio people.
Yeah, so my page, pmehard.com/mybook. You can go on there and pre-order on the mailing list. That's the best place to go if somebody wants to order a signed copy. Because if when it comes out on Amazon, if you buy it, then you're going to have to mail it to me, and then I'm going to have to mail it back to you. But if you go to my website, pmehard.com, mybook, and you say you want a signed copy, then when the books come into me, all I got to do is sign it, put it in a box, and send it to you.
Very perfect. All right, so now Buddy brought on a guy. He's gone now, but he brought on a guy. I'm on episode like 60, so 2 years ago almost. Warriors for the Outdoors. Great organization. All right, they're doing a raffle, and again, if you go watch that show, I don't know what number it was. It was a great show. All right, so I'm sure Chris will put the picture up on now or after this conversation here, and you can see it. But it's $20 per ticket, 6 for $100, and you can win guns. All right, who doesn't want to win guns? Right? I don't know. I
got to run, guys.
Yeah. So hey,
thanks, CSM.
We will see you guys next week.
Boom.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Take care.